My name is Elena Zokas. I am a unit film production manager, or line producer. I got into the business through working with a film company in the centre of London about 20 years ago, and the rest. And I worked there as a receptionist, and I found it very interesting, worked my way up through this little TV company, and I'm now working in the feature side of things.
Lovely, thank you.
My name's Emma Slack, and I'm a producer-director in television, features largely. And I started out as a junior researcher through contacts that I knew in a particular field, which I had intimate knowledge with, and contacts in. So it was an in through people.
Okay, and Sue?
Hello, I'm Sue Field. I'm a script supervisor, and have worked on lots of big films. And how did I get into the industry? I used to be a picture researcher, and I was in the right place at the right time, and I made a lot of people very nice cups of coffee.
What exactly do you do in your job?
I go on to a production right at the beginning of the production. So there is the producer and maybe the accountant and a director in place. Very few other people. I join.
In television, obviously you're not a production manager, but how similar would you say that Elena's role is to a production manager in television as opposed to film, in factual television?
Okay, so production managers in television are probably, I don't know, I'm not a production manager, so it's difficult, but I would imagine they're miles apart from unit managers. Very similar basic roles, you kind of work out the crewing, you understand the budgeting, you can allocate the money accordingly, you've got to work out where you're coming in and over, and you're very good across the sort of who's the right person for the job all the way through it, and you're there, the one person that's always there from the beginning to the end, whereas everybody else will sort of come and go across the period of time.
What is your role as a producer-director?
Well, they can be two different roles, producer or director, or they can be a combined role. It sort of depends on the subject matter as much as the person involved, the person that's the PD. What is the role? I will do everything on a factual programme. I will do everything from a little bit of in the pre-production period of research, in the run-up. I would love to know who the contributors are, meet them, know the setups, and know a little bit about the background of the story, and I'll have generally an AP assistant producer and a researcher working with me to that effect, and work closely with the production manager in terms of if we're working with the presenter or not. And then what I will do is, I will do everything from script the programme to shot list the programme to all the way through to the end, and then I will cut it and write the script at the end and then deliver it.
What is your role as script supervisor? What do you do?
As script supervisor, you're the right-hand woman, or man, if there is a man, of the director. So really, basically, I'm responsible for all the continuity of the film, making sure everything matches, making sure everybody says the right thing, making sure when we get rewrites, they make sense, and basically helping the director.
What I'm trying to get at for the students is that there isn't really a regular,
It's very irregular as a freelancer, and you don't know what's going to happen. Even when you go onto a project, it might not go through. Most everyone that I come across has a sense of humour. You have to have a sense of humour in order to survive, because we have to deal with immediate solutions to problems, and normal people would say, no, that's not possible, and we have to make things possible.
It sounds terribly cliched, but it is that sort of can-do attitude that does work, and a sense of humour, absolutely. A little twinkle in the eye helps, and a great deal of intelligence and resourcefulness.
In one long lesson session.
So yours is 93 million, ours is about 93p. with not nearly as interesting drama. We don't have murder showdowns on cliff tops. If only.
What do we have on television?
What do we have on television? Well, you never see anything particularly interesting to that degree. There's always a nightmare in television. It happens with extraordinarily regularity all the time, and it's to do with time and money often, or presenters that get too big for their boots, so they think they can call the shots. But it is, time and money pressures are increasing because of the sort of impact that online is having, and the fact that television programmes are now expected to be multi-platform, so the budget gets split many more ways, and it's not uncommon. I mean, I won't do it, but it's not uncommon that the PD is expected to shoot. The poor AP, who's meant to be a bright person, going off and finding the stories and sorting out and doing the research, is also meant to be a sound person. So there are different qualities to do with the different channels and the different budgets. But there's always a nightmare. I can't think of anything specific because it's one nightmare is you can't one nightmare is somebody else's.
You just deal with it and move on, don't you?
Yes,
It's how you deal with
and
it.
if you don't deal with it and move on, then it becomes all-consuming, and you have to be able to laugh at it, I think, and just sort of step away at the right time and remember that it's not brain surgery.
So for the students coming out of university, what skills would you like them to have if they come onto a set as a runner?
I'd like them to have common sense, which seems to be extraordinarily unusual, so that they know they can't just sit in their car and be on their phone, that they have to, if I say jump or I'm looking at them, I'm wanting something to happen, I'm not going to wait for them to say, what do you want me to do? They need to have thought before me and to say, what do you want me to do? But it's also having, in terms of a background, broad intelligence, so that they can understand something as simple as the geographical nature of the country and the context. It would be quite useful to have a basic understanding of world politics, what's going on in the world, so that you can small talk people. And history is always a good thing, because then if you're shooting anything anywhere, a little bit of history will help you grasp a situation really quickly.
What are the most useful skills do you think a runner should have?
Technical ability for a runner. Driving, you've got to be able to drive. You can't drive, then that's probably not
Same for
considered
film,
technical.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
Timekeeping.
Timekeeping.
Don't be late because you won't be asked back.
And
So
not thinking immediately that you're going to be producing and directing in a couple of weeks, living in the moment and having respect for people.
And you have to be able to do everything and anything at all times that anybody requests. And if you're genial whilst you're going about it, and you're interesting, and you have taken an interest in the area that you're filming in, the subject area or the geographical area or whatever, you'll be an asset, and then you are a real asset. Always know your production manager by first name. Always make sure they're the person. Nobody else matters. Truth.
True. I think it's having intelligence to know that you're joining a team and it's a team effort that you'll be working in. It's having respect for people, and if you've made the effort and someone has chosen you to be working on a production, it's not an honour, it's never going to be an honour, but you've been chosen, so do the job to the absolute best of your ability.
I think that runner who came in for an interview with you, and the first thing he said was, right, who wants a cup of coffee? Because that is basically where it all starts.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
And delivering call sheets in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
working later than anybody else, getting up earlier and being there on location with the location manager, setting up.
All with a smile and no complaining.
All with a smile.
Jane Root, brilliant Jane Root, who set up Wall to Wall and became the first female television channel controller for BBC Two. Her advice, she was the person who gave me my first job in television, and her advice was, you need to do 2 years in every role. So 2 years as a researcher, 2 years as an AP, and go cross-genre. Work out the genres you want to work in, work out where you want to go, know your stuff. And actually that's been extraordinarily sound advice, but just as you were saying, there are people that clearly haven't been given that advice, boys particularly, and they sort of ride through and they'll up themselves on a grade or be given that up in some way through knowing a particular piece of kit or whatever. And it is a comeuppance in the end, because actually there's nothing worse than having somebody that calls themselves a producer or a director or whatever, but actually is incapable of doing either of those things well. It's better to be a really shit-hot AP that everybody wants, and then you get the next credit on merit, than it is being a really bad director.